My dear beloveds, I would love to share a little part of my journey, which I share this journey actually in depth in my podcast, The Rise of the Feminine. You can also find some meditations, and there's also inquiry, guidance, as well as I bring other sisters into the podcast. So you could hear about their stories and also their offerings. That my journey as a human in this existence, in this life, hasn't been very easy. And it wasn't because about my surroundings, but it is because what I had received, what I had accepted actually from my lineage and from humanity, right? But I didn't know this. As a kid, I didn't know this. I felt it very deeply, but I also felt that I came here to be of service, and I knew that. I saw Mother Teresa as a little girl on the news, on the TV, and I'm like, Dad, that's what I'm here to do, to be of service. I think my mom kind of laughed about it, and now she understands. So I knew as a little girl, but I didn't know how to get there. Yeah. My parents gave me so much love. My lineage gave me so much love, but I didn't know how to receive this love, right? I had no idea how to receive it. I had no idea what to do with my sensitivity and my gifts. And so it became too much. It became too much to carry all these things from my lineage to myself. It became too much to be of like the weird person, the weird kid that is asking questions, that wants to know why or how or when, it's like that is trying to understand every single human that she meets. And that became, I guess, like somewhat annoying to others. And also it's like, oh, whoa, I guess that's another way that we do it. And I hid my gifts. I hid like all these things. And because of this hiding, plus the ancestral trauma that I had received, that I had accepted, right? It became too much. And I didn't know what to do with all that. I hadn't learned to talk about my emotions, to express them, right? So then what happens? I began to sabotage myself. I became anorexic and bulimic since a really young age, probably 8 or 9 years old, and this went on and off about 20 years. Two times were really freaking intense. And one time I almost died, really. I was skin and bones. And because of that, one time I almost died from, and I feel you all if you're in the same boat or if you have a similar journey. Because my iron level was very low and I got to the emergency room right on time. Had I not gotten there on time, I would have died because I didn't have enough iron in my system. And I didn't know that was a thing. And I suffer from anxiety, and depression. I was feeling everybody else's emotions and energies, thinking that it was me. It's like, what do you know? Like it was too much. Do you know what to do with this, right? And because I wasn't working on that, because I had no idea that you could actually work on that, then I put it all aside, right? Like on the shadows, right? This is where the term shadow works come from, right? Because you're like going into your shadows, what you threw in the bag to look at them in the face, right? And I reached one point where it was too much. And this is when my Saturn return came. The Saturn was just slapping me in the face and be like, you're not being your authentic self. And I'm like, not even knowing that a Saturn return was a thing. And I entered the deepest depression that I've had in this lifetime, which parenthesis, I've gone through this in many lifetimes, and I came in this existence to also release that, where I had massive suicidal tendencies for this lasted for 2.5 years. Massive suicidal tendencies. And one of the times I was taken to the emergency room and they took me to a facility. Yeah, I lost my job. And in that space, that's when I heard this the first time that I can remember that I heard there's gotta be something else in life than suffering. And that phrase is the one that led me out. I was like, okay, I have never had this thought before that I can remember. because honestly, I remember maybe 2 times feeling really at peace. And I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to feel in this. So I went back at the chaotic self. And so I was like, all right, you know? So then I embrace myself. I embrace all my darkness. I embrace it all. And I started to work on myself, starting with my physical body, right? So, long story short, I became a fitness teacher first, bar, which totally saved my life. It was the only time during that hour that I did not have suicidal thoughts or any thoughts whatsoever because I was so present in what we were doing. That led into yoga teacher trainings, into Pilates trainings, into TRX. I mean, I dove in anything that came my way that was like, Reiki training, becoming a Reiki master, Diksha, I mean, sound healing, literally you name it, anything that will pop up. I was like, okay, until Kundalini Yoga came into my life. And that was the most beautiful gift that I have given myself, one of them, honestly. Through that first teacher training, because I have two, my Kundalini energy went up. And I'm so grateful that my teacher actually talked about Kundalini awakening, because otherwise I wouldn't have any idea what in the world was happening, right? Like a lot of us experience here. And I felt the energy shooting all the way up from the very base of my spine, all the way up, feeling also the masculine and the energies channels moving, my body moving, transing out, and then passing out literally. But through that Kundalini awakening, my intuition was like my channeling abilities, my psychic abilities, like hearing, smelling, I mean, seeing, like all of them, you know. And it was very hard. It was so, I mean, not very hard. It was extremely hard because I didn't have anybody to guide me. But what had happened is that I opened up the door to all my shadows, and all my shadows were like, including the ancestral trauma. And I had no idea how to handle all of that alone. So a lot of times I collapsed on my knees in front of my altar, just asking for a presence. I didn't want to fix it. You know, I wasn't like, hey, help me fix this. I was like, let me feel a presence so I know that I'm not going insane, because what the fuck is happening? Excuse my language. And every time I got it, every time I got it. And then I just take that. Then another Kundalini yoga teacher training in the Himalayas happened. I went there with my teacher. I started traveling in India as well as Thailand and Nepal. In Nepal, I met an enlightened master that it changed everything. It changed the whole perspective. Like, wow, this is our reality. It's no longer a concept. Like, we can reach this. It's not just for the monks that go and live in like, in the mountains and the caves away from everybody, right? Because this enlightened master was in Kathmandu. If you've ever been there, it's super freaking chaotic, and there's so much going on there. And that changed, as well as in Thailand. And I went back to my life. I was living in Las Vegas like then, and then I couldn't go back to that. And I couldn't face what I had done, prior to the whole awakening. I couldn't face what I had done to my ex-partner, to myself, in the energies of that city. And I moved to Thailand. And in Thailand, in Koh Phangan, I met my beloved twin flame, my current boyfriend, and community they were or had been witnessing bodies go through their spiritual awakening, the Kundalini awakening, for years. I was like, thank you. I had been searching for this, you know what I mean? To find people to be like, oh, that's normal, no big deal. It's like, oh, wow. It only took a couple years, but that's okay. And through that awakening, the light language came through. And again, I mean, my channeling abilities were heightened, and I started to practice more of that. I spent about almost 2.5 years in somewhat of isolation, honestly, just me and my boyfriend, because I was concentrating in my gifts and in my own healing. and I couldn't do anything else. And I'm grateful that I had that opportunity to do that at that moment. When I came out of my cave, then that's when I started to share. It's like, it's time. And I feel ready. I feel ready to hold space for others because I held space for myself. I went into releasing all the roots of the anorexia and bulimia, and I was tapping into also the roots of the trauma that I had been carrying, right? And it's been a journey. I'm still in the journey, you know? I'm not like, I'm wise in what I know in my experiences and what comes through and what I remember from other lives and other beings, right? But I'm still in this journey with you. Yeah. And it was really beautiful that living in Asia actually took me back to my roots, which I had been disconnected from. After that, we moved to Cusco, which is a massive energetic portal, the dark night of the soul for 6 months, over and over and over again. And then we moved to Colombia, the country in South America. And that's where I was able to integrate all the things that were released from my body, from my being in Peru, right? And tapping again into my gifts. I'm currently living in Lawrence, Kansas. It's a beautiful and powerful little town. And I'm grateful for this town too, for this land. This land has been taking me even deeper and deeper and deeper in my roots, my Quechua roots, the roots from the rainforest as well as from the coast, you know, the mountains, the desert in Peru, right? And it's just been a really beautiful journey to witness my own healing and also a joy to witness the healing of others. And the reason why I do what I do, besides, is like, this is what I came here to do because I didn't have anybody to guide me. I didn't have anybody to hold me or to be like, hey, like, you're gonna be okay. How about you start doing these practices and don't worry, you know, it's just a face, for lack of better words. I didn't have that. I had to learn on myself. And this is why I became very good at energy work, very good at seeing, right? At seeing the energy and listening, because I did it on myself. I went inwards over and over and over again to understand, to see what was happening, to talk to my being, to be like, okay, what do we need to do, right? And that again, the 2.5 years or almost isolation that's what I did. And prior to that, I was still doing it, but not to that degree. And so that is what allowed me to be me and to be in my gifts, right? I gave myself the opportunity to be in that. And I know that perhaps not a lot of people can have that possibility in their lives because of what they do, but they can have somebody that says like, hey, if you do these practices, it might be a little shortcut. You know, why don't you try it out? If you do this practice, you're not going to feel as anxious or as depressed. If you do this or that, you know, like, it's like, had I had that, holy moly, things would have been way easier, right? But also, and this is the one that really calls my heart, is because I deeply love you. Even if I haven't met you in person, I will not meet you in person in this life. I just love you because you are part of me. We are here together. We're not separate. We might be seen as two different physical bodies, but the energetics, you are me and I am you. And I know every time that I heal or every time that I hold space and people heal around me, you are also healing. And that's what we need in this life right now, in this moment in time, right? Whenever you're watching this video, this is what we need. The moment that we say yes to ourselves is the moment that we are also given permission to others to say yes to themselves. And that, that is the gift. That is the gift of being the alchemist. This is not about like doing the work over and over and over again, and that's it, you know? It's about holding the deepest space of love, unconditional love. So I can be the mirror for you. So you can see you through me, through what I do, through the space that I hold, through the love that I give. So you can see that that is you too. That that power that is in me is in you, and you can awaken that power, sister and brother. You can awaken that power when you choose to, and you have to do the work. You have to do the work. But it's about choosing you and choosing, believing, knowing that you're worthy, knowing that you are worthy of tapping into that, of being so in love with yourself in life that you literally cry. I cry all the time because things are so beautiful because of the deep love that I feel. And because of that deep love that I feel, I can be of such service to you and the rest. That is what I came here to do, that I've done over and over and over again through different lives, in different bodies, in different shapes, speaking different languages. And I know that. I've seen it, I remember it. And that's also my gift that I bring from different realities to this, right? It's all merging through this physical body, through my heart, for you, for me, for all of us. Not my gift alone, it's our gift. And you are worthy of it. So worthy.